Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Junia Doan. Welcome to Uncommon Sense, and thank you for joining us. My guest today is Heather Rousseau, owner of the Sugar High Bakery in Frankenmuth, and the 2012 winner of the Food Network's Cupcakes War with her husband as her co-chef. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you.
So, with this big lug of sugar, how did it all start? Sugar and baking.
Yes, well, I love sugar, but I've always been baking since I was a little girl, and I used to go over to my aunt's house and bake on the weekends. So that's kind of where it started, and watched a lot of Food Network. So we'd try new recipes, and anything that was really good made it into a special cookbook that we still have now. So.
Was it mostly concentrated on sugar as an ingredient?
Oh yeah, desserts.
I mean,
Yes.
Desserts?
Yes, I'm a dessert person for sure.
Oh, I see. And is there a difference in sugars, whether you use granulated or powdered and this and that, and different, like salt, different size of grain?
Yep, different types of sugar, and they all serve different purposes. So depending on if you're baking or making a frosting or an icing or a filling, we use a little bit of combination of all of them.
Is that something you have to strive for, the right combination?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you use the wrong type of sugar, something could be gritty or not rise properly or be too sweet or not sweet enough. So it definitely is a science and an art, getting the right combination.
Is it also important to have a sequence of the way you do things?
I think so, yeah. You know, different processes and methods yield different results. So depending on what you're looking for, might change the method that you use.
I have read that when you use eggs, they should be room temperature.
Yeah.
Is that your experience?
Again, depending on what you want to use. Yeah, they definitely tend to whip and get a bigger volume when they're room temperature, not freezing cold.
Oh, interesting.
Little tricks.
Yeah, it's. I'm a novice baker by choice, but one of the things that I really missed is the assumptions they made of what I should know.
Yeah, it is kind of probably interesting what they assume that you know, and what maybe isn't so obvious to people who don't bake all the time, but that's where we come in.
Yes, and how do you determine what the people in your area want to buy?
A lot of trial and error. That's the great thing about having our own place and kind of being in charge, is that we're able to experiment and try new recipes and new flavor combinations, and if something doesn't sell great, we just replace it with something else, and we just keep trying until we find something that everybody likes. We listen to feedback of our customers, and we try to give them what they want.
And what have you found to be popular in the last year or so?
Oh, definitely our cupcakes. We do our main avenues of business at the bakery are our jumbo cupcakes and our specialty cakes. And so the specialty cakes are great because they can completely be customized to whatever the client wants, theme, sculpted cakes, or whatever party theme they're having, we can create something just for them. And then our jumbo cupcakes are our biggest seller for people who walk in to the bakery and they're looking for a treat. We have almost 50 different flavors. So
they
can, yes, yep, every day, and more than that, but that's about what's available every day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, something for everybody.
That is. And you often read that people generally lean towards vanilla and ice cream or chocolate only people. Do you find that in cupcakes?
I think you definitely can't go wrong with chocolate and vanilla.
Right.
But from there, we have several different chocolate varieties. So a chocolate with a mint frosting or filling. We have chocolate, and chocolate coconut, and all different combinations. So even within the basic chocolate and vanilla cake, there's several varieties.
And how did you decide on the size? When you say the size, is it this big, this, what is that? The jumbo
Well,
cupcake.
I remember having this conversation when we were getting ready to open, what size should we do? And while we do offer, mini cupcakes, which are just like a one bite, we do regular size, which is the size that you'd bake at home. But I wanted it to be unique and something special. So we specialize in the jumbo cupcakes, which is probably about 2 to 2.5 times the size of a regular cupcake.
Oh. It's a mini cake.
Yep. And a lot of times that's fun because people get a couple different flavors and they'll take them home and share, so people can sample more different flavors.
And so you're the creative side of the business. I can see that in your eyes.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, my husband, he's our main baker at the bakery, and he's definitely the methodical, he likes structure and routine, so he can get everything out perfectly every time. And I'm definitely more on the creative side where I like to change it up and do different things, and I'm always the one, hey Adam, try this, you need to do this, and so we really complement each other really well.
He's okay taking direction from the wife?
I think so. Yeah, we're still here, we're still married, and we still we're going great, so I think so. We're a good team.
What makes you a good team?
We're both willing to compromise. We have our own areas of the business that we focus on, and we each have our strengths, so we build off of each other, and I think that's really helped us to be successful. Along with, having, his dad works with us and my parents work with us, and we've got my sibling, so it's a family business for sure, and it goes great.
And how did you attract them to the business? Did you ask them but for a particular job to be done, or I need help, show up?
That's definitely how it started. I need help, show up. When we first started, it was just my mom and I when we opened the storefront, and then I had aunts and grandparents, and they'd come up on the weekends and help me, and honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how successful we'd be right away. I didn't know a lot of the stuff. So and then Adam, he had another full-time job and was going to school at the time. And so he would come over and help after work, and then it just started getting busier and busier and busier, and then he was spending more and more time, so he was able to quit his job and just work with us full time, and the rest of the family, as far as working with us and being full time, they just kept getting sucked in one by one and spending more time at the bakery to where they'd be able to transition. So I think that's probably the coolest part about having our business, is being able to not only support ourselves, but to be able to support our family doing something that we like together.
So you're able to pay them at this point. You have enough revenue.
Yeah, real jobs.
Oh my God, you're a job creator. That's what we need.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
And it's fun jobs, and we enjoy working together. So I think that makes our long hours and long days go by a lot faster because we're all together anyways. So it's there's nothing that we're looking forward to leaving to go home to. We're all there, so it's not so bad.
if ever there's someone's in a bad mood or a little off and they're sort of distorting the energy flow, how do you deal with that if it's a family member?
It definitely makes things a little bit trickier, different dynamics than just having a regular employee. And I think that sometimes having family, that we expect more out of each other, and we kind of set the bar higher than if it was just a regular employee. But so in that sense, it is difficult, because you're trying to navigate business differences, you're trying to navigate personal relationships. So it's definitely tricky, but I think the reward of doing it is so much greater. So it's definitely worth it for us.
How did you figure out how to price your product when you first opened, say the big cupcakes?
It was definitely definitely one of the hardest things, and it's something I still struggle with, mainly because what I do isn't just this cost plus this cost equals the selling price. It's more on the creative side and the artistic side, so it's really difficult to put a price on personal knowledge and experience. It's definitely a gray area, and it can fluctuate. So I always joke that the first time I do a cake, that person gets the deal, because the second time I know that it usually takes me twice as long as what I estimate. And the other difficult thing about doing cakes is that I never do the same one twice. So they're different every time. So I just try to use from my experience ballpark as best as I can, judge for my time, and go from there. So,
what did pastry school in Chicago teach you?
When I went to the French pastry school in Chicago, and that was mainly focusing on the baking and the science and behind that. So not so much the creative side of it. It was more, you know, how different ingredients interact with each other to cause different, you know, reactions, and so a really interesting side of things. So that, you know, helped our product, I guess, taste good and then look good too, which are both really important in my opinion.
There seems to be many, at least 4 or 5 cupcake chains at this point. Are there differences in taste in the cupcakes, or are they all sort of cousin to each other?
I think just like anything else, you know, people have different preferences on anything, and because it's kind of an art form too, another thing that separates different places is the look and the taste. So just like there's different artists and painters, and everybody has their preference on how they want things to look and taste. You know, some people prefer bigger cake, smaller cake, chocolate, vanilla, and so yeah, everyone has their preferences. And something,
you know, what I find hard to find in a cupcake, or it's what I call a sort of dense, I don't mean candy cherries and that kind of thing, but there's some way of adding something where it's not light. And I found that out when I went to the wedding of a friend of mine in California, and she did that on her wedding cake. It was chocolate and then this one other layer and then vanilla, or anyway, wedding cake white. And it was so good, that middle layer. Later on I asked her mother, where does it come from? Because I thought, could they send it here? I would just love it. So she looked it up and found it, and I did indeed contact them. And I said, I want the densest one, so forth. They sent it to me, no, it was just light. So I must have misdescribed. Is there a way of describing density?
Typically, a lot of that has to do with the, you know, there's different types of cakes. There's sponge cakes, and you know, some cakes are made with just egg whites, and some are made with whole eggs, and some are made with just yolks, and they all make a difference on density. Also, different types of flours. So, you know, oftentimes different bakeries will, we have several different cakes that we make, and different recipes for each flavor, and different frostings and different types. So we've got, you know, buttercreams, American buttercreams, and Italian meringue buttercream, and whipped cream frostings, and ganaches, and, you know, so every one is a different combination. So it is tricky finding the one that you like, and then when you find something that you like, it's, you know, it's tough if you can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, there's such a move now towards gluten-free cooking for desserts and breads. Is that an interest of yours?
You know, personally, I never had even really thought about gluten-free things, because nobody in my family has any food allergies, and we've all been lucky that way. And then when I went to Chicago, I started noticing that there were gluten-free bakeries, and I was kind of like, what is this? You know, so I started researching and looking into it. And now at the bakery, we do offer gluten-free cupcakes and specialty cakes. We aren't a gluten-free facility. We can't be, because, you know, we use sugar and, flours and all of that stuff anyways. But for the majority of people who have gluten sensitivities, they have been really popular, and we sell a ton of gluten-free cupcakes.
What, the flours are different. I mean, you meld them or something. But do you find you have to add more sugar to a gluten-free product than a non-gluten-free product?
Not typically.
Good.
We have a great gluten-free flour blend that we've found. It took a lot of experimenting on different flour types, and I think the trickiest part in gluten-free baking is that, you know, the people who are looking for the lighter and the fluffier cakes, that's probably the hardest part in gluten-free baking, because the flours that you use are a little bit more dense. A lot of people use like almond flours and tapioca flours, and which aren't so great for baking. So it's a little bit trickier, because oftentimes you can get a dense cake or a spongy, gummy cake.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to replace what makes a cake a cake. But by combining different flours and trying to take the best of each type, we've come up with a really great recipe, I think. And if it wasn't a cost issue, I probably would do it across the board. It's so good. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Gotta try that
yeah.
one.
Yeah, that one's good.
Great advertisement. Do you advertise?
Yeah, and we do a little bit of advertising, but I think the majority of our advertising comes from word of mouth. And every time we, and another reason that we strive to do the best that we can every single time, because every time we send a cake to a party or a wedding, it advertises for itself. In your case, you tried that cake and you sought it out. And so that's what we want to do. And that's kind of our goal.
If someone like me didn't want to go to Frankenmuth but wanted to order this gluten-free and maybe a couple of others, can I do that online? Do you have an online business yet?
Not yet. Definitely something we're working on. We have experimented with shipping our cupcakes kind of as a do-it-yourself kit, with the cake separate in frosting and piping bags. So it's kind of a fun way to do that. And then down the line, definitely, I have a whole list of ideas of things that I want to do. I'm very cautious not to do too many things too fast. I'm definitely a quality over quantity person, and I want to make sure that whatever I put out is going to be worth it. So. And
what are the couple of things on the list?
Oh, geez, delivery one. Right now we deliver our wedding cakes, and that's about all we're staffed to do at this point, but I would like to do local delivery, shipping, and just little expansions within our stores. But for now, that's probably the biggest thing.
But you've already expanded. Now you have the sweet shop,
yes.
Right?
Yep, there's 3 shops now.
And now a cafe.
Yep.
And what prompted you to be called to do either one of those?
Well, we had the bakery first, and then, as I said, we do weddings, and a lot of times we were doing the candy buffets for a lot of the weddings and the sweet table. So since we were already kind of working in the candy, then it was just a natural progression to open the candy store. We sell, at the bakery, we make handmade gelato, Italian gelato ice cream. And so then in our candy store, we have ice cream and fudge and milkshakes and things like that. And then for a while we had been wanting to do food, and a lot of people ask us what's to eat in Frankenmuth between after breakfast and before their chicken dinner. People are looking for something to eat. So we had kind of been considering opening a location downtown, and then the opportunity came to us and we took advantage of it.
And who tutored you when running a restaurant? I'm told that's a complicated and long-hour business, not that your first one isn't.
Well, I would say probably most, I've never really had any formal training in the food side of it. And I guess in business in general, I think I try to use a lot of personal experiences. And when I go to different places, what did I like about a certain business? What did I think could be improved? And then I try to use those experiences and apply that to my business.
Oh, and so Frankenmuth has a year-round traffic of tourists?
Yes, for the most part, yeah. It slows down a lot after the new year, the foot traffic does. But yeah, all year round there's something fun going on. There's festivals and just great shopping and restaurants, and it definitely keeps the town happening.
Oh, that's really, it's hard to find a nice, what we used to call coffee shops, I guess. Where you go in, you have some kind of version of lunch, and I read paninis too.
Panini
that are
sandwiches.
probably new to the area.
Funnel cakes, and we have bubble tea.
I want to know, what is a funnel cake?
Funnel cake is it's a sweet dough or a sweet batter, and it's poured over grease, so it's kind of like a donut.
Okay.
It's probably closest to a donut to describe it, but it's
so
really
it's hot, fat, fried.
Yep, and then it comes out, and a lot of times you might see them at carnivals or fairs. We do some other novelty treats like fried Oreos and fried Twinkies and that kind of thing. And then the other specialty thing that we have is our bubble tea that we make.
Yeah, what's that?
It's a fruit-flavored jasmine-based green tea, and then we infuse with fruits. And then there's little fruit-flavored bubbles that are in the bottom of the drink, and they kind of burst, kind of similar to a grape with juice. And so it's a fun, interactive treat with your drink. So it's very addicting.
What makes them burst? Is it the temperature change, or you smash them?
Actually, they're kind of made along the lines. I don't know if you're familiar with molecular gastronomy at all.
No, please try me.
I know, it's really fancy
me.
sounding, right? So the way you make them is it's a fruit juice, and then you have a solution, and you drop into the juice with an eyedropper. Then the chemical reaction that happens between the juice and the solution forms a skin on the outside of the juice, and it kind of makes a bubble.
Cute.
And the inside stays liquid, so you can just eat them.
And do they have a shelf life or not really?
They never last long enough, but it's kind of like a gelatin base on the outside is, I guess, a good way to describe it. They're kind of tricky. You have to try it.
Oh, I'd love to.
It's definitely
I love new things,
unique.
mostly, not all. Well, are there any regional specialties that people ask for repetitively that you feel you have to have?
Well, it's funny because when we first started the bakery, you know, I talked about I like to do new flavors and things like that, and we definitely find which flavors people like when we try to take it out, you know, off of our menu, because people come in repeatedly. Where's this flavor? Our #1 cupcake is our cuatro leches cupcake. It's a white cake injected with a sweet cream mixture, and then there's whipped cream frosting on top of it. When we first opened, it was our tres leches cupcake, but because it had 3 milks and creams in it. After we went on Cupcake Wars, we had the Ninja Turtle theme, so we wanted to include a 4th cream, kind of as a nod to the 4 Ninja Turtles. So since then, it's been cuatro leches. So that one's definitely our #1 seller.
What was the product that you baked for the war contest?
Yeah, Cupcake Wars. There was 4 different cupcakes that we had to make. In our first round, we had to make a pizza-inspired cupcake. So we chose to do the pepperoni pizza, and we did a marinara cake with a Parmesan Italian meringue buttercream and candied pepperonis on top. And then in our second round, we had to do any 3 cupcakes that kind of went with the theme. So we did a radioactive lemon lime cupcake, we did a turtle power cupcake, and we did our cuatro leches cupcake. So then in the third round, we had to do 1,000 of those same flavors from the previous round. So it was a lot of work.
That was a lot. Why do they want so many? To see if you have consistency?
Well, they have that was part of it. We were judged on that, but they have a party for the cast and crew of the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles. So after the winners got to have their display at that event. So that was really cool.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really interesting how people take such an investment in time and like you follow. I think decorating and I think cooking has gotten better in America.
Yeah.
Because they can look in on these things. You know, even if they don't do it, they know about it.
Right. Yeah. It is amazing. Even, you know, actually this year is going to be our 5th year in business. So it's kind of cool that we have some history that I can, you know, kind of look back and, you know, I walk into work like, look how far we've come. And I remember when we first opened, even just knowing how people order cakes versus now, you know, we specialize in all fondant covered cakes with the edible decorations and things like that. And, you know, when we first opened, hardly anybody knew what that was. And now after watching a lot of the cooking shows and decorating shows, people ask what they want by name. So it's pretty cool because you can see that the education in the area has definitely grown, and you know, it helps us speak the same language.
Yeah. Why did you go to your aunt's to cook?
Oh, she loved baking. Oh. So she would, we'd do that together, and then we'd look through recipes, you know, all week. We'd check out magazines or the internet and find something that looked good, and then we'd try it out, and we'd make a mess of the kitchen and sample it, and it was fun.
I find, you know, sometimes you run across an old cookbook and you find that everything that was popular isn't anymore.
It changes.
And I thought, yeah, it surprised me, and I thought, well, just like everything else, people want change.
Yep.
You know?
It trends. Yep. It gets popular, then it doesn't, and then it goes back in style.
Oh, interesting. I like ice cream or gelato, but I like a bitter sweet chocolate with very little sugar. Mm-hmm. And I have never been able, we tried it make it a couple of times, and it's close, but I've never, in a public sense, been able to buy anything like it. There are darker chocolate ice creams and gelato, but there's so much sugar in it that it's a competing taste.
Yeah, that's the great thing about the gelato too, is it's very little sugar added into the batch because the fruits and everything are naturally sweet.
Yes.
And the other great thing is that since we make it, we are able to bake special flavors for people and they can take it home with them. So we could even make you a special batch.
Well, that wasn't a hint,
Yeah.
but I was just very interested. Yes, I'd be thrilled. I'd be thrilled. So anyway, thank you so much. Boy, have we learned a lot, meaning me in particular, but also the rest of us. And that is to be interested in something early, to have someone who's willing to have fun and work with you. Like you just heard, they ran to the library for tips and ideas in between Sunday baking or weekend baking. It's very good to follow up with formal education. It's very good to work in many places. And finally, it's very good, if you have that in you only, to follow your dream of trying it out, so that your sense of beauty or perfection or style or content has a shot at it. I think she's lucky, lucky, lucky about her family. So I congratulate you on working with them and having available to work. Not all of us do in that. But she doesn't stop, you know. She gets something sort of solidified on to the next. Let's see if we can make it go, which is very good, because if you start something, you know, maybe it will take off or not take off, but then you may want to do something else, and it's kind of good to get them started where they overlap a little, but don't do that on my account. But just think about it, okay? And the other thing is, sugar is not bad for you. Her family is fine. But also, for those who have gluten sensitivities and sugar sensitivities, but in particular gluten, she has found a very good flour and has researched it to get it. And she makes very good cupcakes and probably other things as well. So I welcome you to go visit her in Frank and Ruth Sugar High Bakery, but more particularly in your own life, take that risk and be a specialist and find the joy in it, and know sometimes you're going to have to deal with a problem or two, even if it's in the family that you love to be with. And she said a wonderful thing, sometimes you expect more of your family, so be mindful of that. And thank you for tuning in. Loved having you here, and I'll see you next week. Be kind to yourself and be kind to someone else every day.
To contact Junia, send her an email at info@juniadone.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadone.com. Thanks for joining us. See you next time for Uncommon Sense with Junia Doan.
Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.